Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Trap, a Bears podcast by a Bears fan. I'm your host, Terry, and today talking about Kyle Fuller and this franchise tag and whether he'll come back and all that. So basically what we got was a report from quote unquote insider, I guess that's what they're called, Jason Lockenfora, and I don't even know who he works for now. He used to be with NFL Network. But he basically said that one of his sources said that Kyle Fuller won't sign back with the Chicago Bears. And I see a lot of fans talking about it. I didn't think it'd be that big of a conversation, but figured I'd jump on in. And I said this before about Kyle Fuller. Well, I'll get into that later because I've said my thoughts, but they definitely haven't changed. But first thing I would like to say is that this is similar to anything, sports, movies, anything. You gotta take reports with a grain of salt. A lot of people take them as kind of gold. Even with Adam Schefter, excuse me, somebody top notch like an Adam Schefter or whoever. Yeah, even the guys with a good track record, they can miss sometimes. Very much like Adam Schefter recently, and I'm not trying to say he's not good. It's just that they definitely get information, but they don't always know what's going to happen. They can't predict the future because Adam Schefter was just tirading on the radio and on TV that the people talking about Josh McDaniels pulling out of the coach job were crazy and it's a done deal. This is happening. Like, that's it. My word is bond. And then we saw Josh McDaniels, he pulled out. And so that's just a tiny example. These guys have great records, not Jason Lockenfora, but the other guys have great records, but you still got to take every report with a grain of salt. But anyway, assuming that this is true and that's what's going to happen, I don't see why people are shocked. Why would he want to come back? And I don't really understand that. I hear a lot of people just kind of sounding a little confused, and I'm like, look at the history of it. Not only did he not do that well coming to Chicago, he had a really bad time with Vic Fangio last year. And so we saw basically, and we don't know the actual story. The way people spin it is that Kyle Fuller kind of kept himself out from playing, even with a minor injury that got taken care of. But then there's some people that feel like Vic didn't like him already and he didn't think he was good. And so they kept him out. And maybe it was somewhere in the middle. I mean, truth often is. So who knows? Who knows how that went down? But we know they didn't have a great relationship. And we know Vic Fangio called that man out plenty of times in press conferences. So it was already not that great. Now, Kyle Fuller, for whatever he did to come into this year, he still wasn't a starter until injury. So as much as we want to talk about his improvement, it wasn't enough to change everybody's mind. They obviously said through camp and whatnot, hey, you know, we're not going with him. We're going with these other guys. But because of injury, he was able to play and then show off what he could do. So for those of the people, you know, either getting angry or shocked or confused, surprised by the report that he won't want to come back, I don't see why you think he would. He really wanted to get off this team. It seemed like the team really didn't want him here. Of course, he was a former high round pick, so it was worth giving another shot to. Now, as far as about should we want him to come back and all those things, I've already said for the most part throughout the year that no, I wouldn't want Kyle Fuller to come back. I wouldn't want to pay a lot to bring him back, is what I'll say. It's not that he isn't talented and I don't want him on the team because of his attitude or anything. I think he's definitely valuable, but he isn't valuable to the point that he's going to get paid in the open market. So I said this before, when people were asking, do we bring Kyle Fuller back? And the answer to me is no, because he's not going to be a premier corner. And this is, again, why a lot of casual fans get caught up in stats. You got to actually watch the game and see what he is. So, yes, was he better? Yes, the bar wasn't that high. Was he producing? Yes. But what type of corner is he? This guy is a physical, trail coverage type man corner, meaning that he's not going to chase people or overrun them or catch up to them all the way downfield. He's a guy that can be physical enough, use technique to the point where he can get in the underneath position on routes. And if a quarterback isn't accurate and underthrows, then you can see him make plays like he made this year. And you can see a lot of the struggling quarterbacks are the ones that Fuller really ate up. And so when we're talking about top level corners, though, you know, I'm in the middle of draft season, as most you know, and when we're evaluating and projecting, the top level corners have to have top level speed. Kyle Fuller does not have top level speed. Kyle Fuller is very much in the mold of a Peanut Tillman I think he's physical and, you know, could do all that ball stripping stuff, but that's not, his signature thing like it was for Tillman. But if we're talking about Tillman as just a corner, because everybody remembers the peanut punch, but just as a corner, we're talking about a physical press at the line type guy that can run, but isn't going to, burn anybody. But what he does is get receivers off routes, get them off their spot and try to delay it a little bit, and then use his instincts and zone to make plays. And then people talk about the peanut punch. How do you think you could do the peanut punch if people aren't catching the ball? I used to say that when he was around, and I was like, I'm glad he's doing it. I love it. It's a bear mentality, but there's a lot of people catching the ball for him to be punching it out. So it's not like they're going to lock anybody down. Kyle Fuller definitely is going to challenge. If you get in the shorter area zones towards the end zone, he's going to be a lot better because it's a lot less space. But overall, he's just not one of these lockdown corners. So, for me, again, in the NFL, where, I still think it's more balanced than people will tell you, but we all say it's a passing league. So people want pass rushers. They want corners. Those are the valuable positions. And again, so, it's a league where people just look at people are too into stats. And so they will sit here, look at numbers and say, yeah, we want to get that guy. And free agency, it's not even now. It's since football because you always see free agent bust because people think a good player is just a good player. No, players 95% of the time are in the right system doing the right things and that fit their skill set. And somebody pays them a lot of money, puts them in a different system where they're not as valuable, and then they don't turn out well. But my point is somebody's going to overpay for Kyle Fuller. And I don't want the Bears to be in that bidding war because we do got a lot of money. But again, even if Kyle came back, he'll be a good number 2 corner. He's not a top flight corner. He's not going to turn into a top flight corner. And I love Kyle Fuller. For me, Kyle Fuller always should have been a safety. I mean, this is a guy that came out of college and his junior year played linebacker because they had so many injuries and played well. The guy could tackle. He was physical. I loved him coming out of college. I was excited when we got him, but I just don't think definitely the Mel Tucker defense wasn't a fit for him. And I think he probably would be a better safety if he would have came out and able to put on more weight and focus on safety. But anyway, that's not the point. My point is that it's nothing against him. It's just I'd rather spend that money elsewhere and try to get somebody that has the top notch intangibles to get to a top flight corner, whether that's through draft or free agency. So that's me. But a lot of people recently talking about the franchise tag, and I would consider it. Again, I don't track the rosters and all that, so I would have to sit down, look at our roster and impending free agents to make that decision. But as far as I know, we don't have any big names walking out the door. So it's definitely possible if we don't have another person to tag, then sure, why not? Give him another year to prove it. And then that's the other thing you got to think about. I forgot to mention. players in contract years can do good things. And it's not like all of a sudden they got power, they got focus now. People just assume a lot of players focus. Not all the players focus or try hard, but in a contract year, they do. They put everything into it, and then you see a whole different player, give them a bunch of money, then they back to who they were. I don't know Fuller enough to know, but you got to be weary in the contract year. So that's another issue. But like I said, you could give him that tag, make him prove it again. If you don't think this class has a corner that you can draft, or if you don't think this free agency has a corner you can draft, then yeah, bring him back, and then let's see what the landscape is next year. I'm perfectly fine with that. That's cool for me. But again, that's if there's no other priority that we need to tag, and I don't think there is, not off the top of my head. So I would be open to a franchise tag. But as far as giving him the big deal, competing with people to bring him back, no. Kind of the same thing I was talking about with signing receivers. The value that we got at the position this year, it only calls for a team-friendly deal. And I highly doubt Kyle Fuller is going to only demand a team-friendly deal. I think he's going to have a nice market. So that's what I think about Kyle Fuller. Love to hear what you guys think. I see a lot of conversation about it. Go to the comment section. Let me know what you think about Kyle Fuller. Thumbs up, subscribe, share it around, and remember, stay up and bear down.